Okay, so we've looked at the main starting argument. We've considered the ingredients for the middle of the essay. And now the last thing I always get asked about is how do I end my essay? What do I put at the end? So I thought first I'll just read this out to you and then I'll just unpick some of the things that I've done that I would say you could magpie or that you could make a note of for your own response. So, after two big paragraphs with lots of evidence here, I come to an end of my analysis and I say, we can see for ourselves that Holmes does not have respect for Dr. Roylott, indicated clearly at the end of the text. Roylott dies after getting bitten by the snake intended for his niece, after Holmes has cleverly made some changes to the bedrooms. Holmes is really responsible for Dr. Roylott's death. And yet, in his final speech, Holmes states, I cannot say that it is likely to weigh very heavily upon my conscience. This bold declarative used by Doyle gives us the impression that Holmes feels no guilt for his actions, does not mourn the death of this person of status, and in fact feels largely at ease with his gruesome end because he felt it was deserved. In Holmes's eyes, Roylott deserved to be punished for his ungentlemanly and cruel behaviour, and had been able to manipulate his wealth, power, and status for long enough. Perhaps by spotlighting this dark, painful end, Doyle is offering a mocking warning to those who would consider the status of a gentleman as a sufficient mask to cover their sinful, deviant actions, something the reader would be all too familiar with as a Victorian reality. So you can see in that last little section, I haven't peppered it with lots of quotations like I did in the kind of main two paragraphs. I've picked one main piece of evidence and I've referred to one main event. You don't need to have a specific quotation for every event that you reference. So if you see here, I've just explained what happens. So I've just said Roylott dies, it's Holmes's fault, and I just made reference to that, and that's absolutely fine. If you can't remember a quotation or you think of an event you want to talk about that you don't have a specific reference, that's absolutely fine. You can just give a sort of broader reference like I have. So I've basically just used the ending to talk about what happens at the end of the text and how does the end of the text help me to prove my point. It's a nice way to end the essay because you bring the story to a finish. You talk about a final moment, like this example here, Doyle's Holmes's lack of conscience, and then most importantly, in the last sentence is something that everybody should definitely do at the end of the essay is come back to the most important person in your essay, which is Doyle. He should always be the person you talk about at the end, and come back to a very specific writer's intention. You can see I've slightly overachieved here by using three different intentions verbs, but I've got by spotlighting the painful end, Doyle is offering a mocking warning to his readers. And what I've done at the end as well is I've come back to my argument. I've talked about gentlemen again and this mask of sinful, dark actions. And I've come back to the context at the end there as well. So that final sentence is actually quite packed full. It comes back to my argument, back to the question, and ends with Doyle's big idea and his big intention, which is how you should finish any essay. I hope that's helpful for understanding how to bring it all to a close.